Uh, Hello, welcome to Microsoft Community Insight podcast, where we share insights from community experts that's up to date in Microsoft. Today, we will dive into Power BI, Fabric, and Community with guest Bernat Agulló.
Mhm.
Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. So my name is Bernat Agulló. It's a bit tricky for
Yeah.
non-Catalan speakers. And I am from Barcelona, so that's why Catalan is my first language. Of course, I speak Spanish, speak English, and I
Yeah.
also speak Japanese and some German. And
Nice.
yeah, I'm a data platform engineer and MVP since 2022. I just renewed again for my fifth year. I
Yeah,
supposedly I
congrats.
might have gotten my blue disc already. I don't know, but I'm in Japan now, and the blue disc is in Barcelona. So hopefully it made it through the mailbox. We'll see. When we go back in a couple of weeks, we'll be back in Barcelona. And yeah, so I work as a I can say I work as a data engineer from starting like 2018. Before that, it was sort of a data engineer, but just like Excel macros kind of thing. And from there, I moved into more SQL, and then from some data pipeline like SSIS and stuff like that, eventually landing into Power BI. And there, I think that's more or less when the pandemic hit, and I started like using the time I had on my hands to try to get better at it, doing some online courses, and also that's when I discovered all the MVP thing. I had no idea before that. So I said, this is cool, and sounds something like I would like to do. So I started doing it already. Like, okay, what do the MVPs do? Like, they have a blog. Okay, can do that. And they also do presentations online. I mean, during the pandemic, there was almost all groups
Yeah.
were online, so it was not super hard to find opportunities. And also, luckily for me, it was like the aspects that captivated me most about Power BI were not the main aspects that people were interested or like we're talking already about. So like calculation groups and scripting is like two very niche things that people do not really dive into early. So I, especially calculation groups, I started doing many presentations on that with all the crazy ideas I came up with. Like, yeah, you could use it for this and for that, and yeah, at the time I think there was almost nobody else doing that. I mean, there was a guy, but then he stopped presenting too much. So I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm the calculation groups guy now. So that's how more or less I got myself known.
So
Yeah,
if someone wants to
yeah.
be like a data engineer, do they need to know Power BI or do you just need to know like data itself?
I mean, I think that the most important thing if you want to be a data engineer, you need to like it. You need to like
Yeah,
data. You need to like providing data solutions to people. Yeah.
yeah,
Because that's what's you're gonna happen. I mean, you can start with Power BI. Power BI is great, and you start like doing sort of like data engineering, like in a smaller scale, right? So when you do Power Query, you're basically like going to the source, transforming your data, putting it in a nice star schema, and getting your semantic model built. Of course, that has its limits, and that's when you need to start thinking a bit bigger. And there's also certain things that you should not do, definitely, in a semantic model, like calling APIs and stuff if you want like historical data and all these sort of things. So you need to start making your game more sophisticated. And then it's when you should have like a lake house and on some notebook for the APIs, and then having the three layers. It's generally a really good idea having just landing, then like put serious names on it, things that you can keep over time, and then build all the extra columns that you need or so in the gold layer. Yeah.
okay.
So that's a good way of doing it, because I've seen many companies like, yeah, they say like, yeah, we brought the data, the field names are terrible, but we have no time. Like boom, 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 and they build all the way up to the semantic model and the DAX and everything with those terrible names, with like suffixes and all these little things there that nobody knows what they mean. And then suddenly they change the data source, and it's like, okay, what are we doing? Do we need to map these new names to the old names so that we don't have to change the DAGs and so on? Terrible idea anyway. So you need to start deciding by yourself. It's like the data sources should not guide you on where you're going. I mean, you should have the idea of what you need. This is something that also I heard like Marco Russo and so on say, okay, when somebody's designing a data warehouse, don't look at the data, look at what do you need, right? So, I mean, you're a retailer, you will need sales, you will need products. And then with that, it's like, okay, what are the main attributes you need from each of these things? And then is when you go into the store and say, hey, do we have all these things? Where do they live? How can we bring it to this shape? And of course, the names and everything is already decided. So, I mean, in the source, it has a different name. I don't care. I want to use it with this name. So that's how you drive your
So
data
I guess
warehouse.
that's one of the big process then, best practice, because you have to follow each of the process from start to end. If you mess it up, like you said, it will mess up the flow.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, it's very combined. I mean, you cannot build one without knowing the other. Like, I've seen many data warehouse disasters because the ones building it were not really interested in how it's going to be used. It's like, no, we're going to build in the data warehouse. We have a manual and how is this done? And like they do everything at once. And they have these huge surrogate keys and I don't know, this mapping table. I don't know, very weird stuff that when you try to run it, it's like super slow. They don't have the detail you need. There's some attributes that were calculated. They forgot to include those in the development. And now it's like super expensive to build it again. And so basically they just, I mean, like millions of dollars of stuff, like just thrown into the trash. It's really, really terrible. And what we did, we joined this discussion. Okay, what do you need? What do you really need? And like, yeah, we need this, and this. Okay, we're gonna do snapshots, and we calculate that, and boom, every day you'll have a snapshot of all your attributes with all the properties, and that works perfectly for them. And they rebuilt the whole data warehouse, but they could not do that, and eventually they moved our solution in their own data warehouse, and that's the only table that they use out of it. It's like super sad. It was like, talk to your customers, talk to the users. Really, you need to build something that people will use. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and you're wasting people's money. That's not good.
Do you think that is one of the challenges then, if you don't really interact with your customers to find the right process, something might go wrong?
More than a challenge, I would say it's a terrible idea not talking to your customers. Like, I really, even for reports, it's like, okay, what do you need? Because sometimes, like, no, we have these specifications, just build it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. You really need to understand what are people worried about? What do they care about? How do they interact with things? And even that, it's still difficult, but you're getting closer, right? Also, like, yeah, people just download the data and so like, well, what do they do with it? It's like, but sometimes it's very difficult to get this sort of feedback because people are busy. I mean, they're working. They don't want to talk to you anymore, right? So it's like, oh, you need to find ways to get this information and get better at it. Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive into Fabric, because you said you started your journey as a data engineer within Power BI, and then you used a bit Fabric. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I would say the first time I did something proper like data engineering was more like basically SSIS, started being like some SQL and some orchestration and loading some tables. And then from there, doing some reporting. Yeah? So at the very beginning, I even had to do some stuff with Tableau. And then I did something with Power BI and then something with Click. It was terrible. And there's like, yeah. And luckily, the customers and everything started moving more and more into the Power BI way. And at the beginning, it's difficult. If you don't study Power BI, it's very confusing, right? Until you understand the basic rules of DAX, let's say it's simple but not easy, right? You need to understand those four concepts and how to build a proper model. Once you get that done, it's not easy, but at least it's easier. Yeah. If you don't do that, you get very, very confused. So, and from Power BI, yeah, you start regularly with like just SQL Server and Power BI. And then so many things like, yeah, this is taken care of upstream, right? They don't do that inside the model, do that in the SQL Server. Like, yeah, who's doing that? It was a bit of a half story. And with Fabric, at the beginning, it was like, whoa, that's way too much. I don't want to do everything. But then eventually realized that, hey, I can get rid of the SQL Server and build something here myself. Even if you're not do it really complex stuff, even just by loading things in like with a data flow, it's okay. To a lake house and then organizing things there and then like curating your data little by little to different semantic models is already great. Yeah. And many companies do not need any more than that. But then you have a proper architecture so that when you want to get fancier, you can do it. Yeah, if you started and you put everything inside your semantic models or your click models or whatever, you don't really have anything. Once you want to start doing some serious stuff, you will have to throw it into the trash and start over again. Yeah, so that's why I think, yeah, you don't need to learn everything, but still, if you have the proper knowledge, you can still avoid one of the worst mistakes of like building. Or some people just, I've seen that now with two of my customers, they want to do things very, very quickly, right? So instead of building a very simple SQL server with the main tables and then like starting small kind of thing and then growing, they say, no, we have no time. And then they kind of like, they use some pre-built stuff from the vendor. Yeah, say, hi, I'll put you this nice product of mine in which I'll take care of all the loads and then you can just build your models out of it. But this is very problematic because then you are tied forever to that product. And then, of course, you need more data sources and more fields and more customization. But you cannot do it yourself because you don't own your own data warehouse. And sometimes you don't even know the logic inside. Like, what tables are we using from the source? I don't know. I just know the table that comes out of this black box. And this is not great because eventually you'll realize that you need to own your data state. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, now we need to start guessing, like, what should we get in and so on. So, yeah, I mean, of course, you do what you got to do, but you need to also be aware of the consequences. If you do that today, you may have a problem tomorrow. Like in Spanish, we say like, this is bread for today, like hunger for tomorrow kind of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, this is something I just seen recently. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of like Fabric, are you doing anything with Microsoft Fabric in regards to data space at the moment?
Oh yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, now
What
when
are
you
the
say,
common?
yeah, I mean, it's everything. I would say that almost all the customers, it's either Power BI or Power BI and Fabric, but we're not doing anything out of that, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we had something on Amazon and so on, but not anymore. And if they say, hey, we don't have pretty much anything, we need a data warehouse, Fabric. That's our recommendation. And yeah, because the pricing is great, you can just keep growing it over time. You don't need a huge first-time investment, and so it's very flexible, easy to use, easy to transfer later if you want the project is over. Like so, of course, I mean, if you are really technical and you have this super solution, I mean, you're super good at Databricks or Snowflake, you might not get all the same control level that you may have in other technologies. But if you don't really need that level of control, Fabric is just fine. Yeah.
Okay. So Databricks and Fabric, those are this. If you know one system like Fabric, you can pick up Databricks easy, or is it the same?
I have no. I mean, I have to be honest here. I just mentioned the name, but I'm really not that familiar with Databricks. Yeah, but I think they're doing some new. I mean, Fabric is doing some. I mean, they're using a lot of the what Databricks is doing. So for all the Delta and so on, but at the same time, they're also building some new stuff. So all this one lake thing is pretty cool. And now the one lake security is also very new. That I mean, putting the security on the data layer is quite, and not in the engine layer. It's quite revolutionary, I would say. So of course, there's many gaps to fill and many small things to keep building on. But I think it's already a pretty decent product and it fulfills its mission.
Yeah. So let's dive into the community aspect. You say you're an MVP in data platform.
Yes.
So how you're into your fifth year MVP. So what are some of the what Or what are some of the contribution do you make? Do you still do blogging about data, or do you do
Yeah.
session on data? Do you do any like conferences?
Well, I do, yeah, some of all of it. Yeah. So first, I do have my blog. I should
Yeah,
really write some more articles, but when I have something really special, I do write it there, and I'm proud of the
yeah,
blog. It came out a long way. That's one thing. But I would say that what takes most of my time and my contributions are one, running the local user group, the Power BI in Barcelona, and a
okay,
Power BI and Fabric Barcelona. Now it's like, yeah, and where we are like, we are 4 organizers, and we really try to have a monthly in-person event. And unlike other groups that are super lucky that have like, I don't know, like Microsoft huge offices in the city or
yeah,
something, and they just can just show up there and do their event. We don't have anything like that. I mean, we have Microsoft in Barcelona, but they have a very small space, not so easy to get in
yeah,
and out. So we try to find other venues in which we have more control. And
nice,
and also sometimes we're like, yeah, let's do it bigger, let's do it nicer. I don't know. And sometimes we end up like doing like 3-track events, full day, like, so it's really halfway between like it's a local user group and event. So I mean, we kind of like we combine everything in one.
yeah,
And in
because
other
since
places would be like just let's do just one, right?
yeah,
And,
because for that user group you talk about like Power BI and
mm,
Fabric
yeah,
and data, but then different is data is kind of AI as well, so you could probably talk to AI. So
yeah. I mean, we always try to have it. It needs to at least mention Fabric or Power BI in the
yeah,
session. We don't go like your pure, I don't know, like CI/CD for models, and that's it. Like, whoa, 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 that's a bit too far from us, right?
yeah,
But how to use in the semantic model? Yeah, we have some of that, of course. And yeah, so this is the other leg of what I do. And then, of course, I do presentations myself, sometimes in the local user group, but also I try to do things abroad. So this year, for instance, I was in the SP Big thing that the Power BI Gebruikers, I don't know, this huge event that they have in Holland.
yeah.
And then from there, I also went to the data point in Prague as well. Those are the
Okay,
two that I have to go abroad. Yeah, and sometimes online, and people just, hey, we want to present here or present there. And or sometimes I call for speakers. I'm like, okay, I haven't done that user group before, so I just send a session and something that I have on my mind or something that I'm about to present later on. So I have like a pre-warming run, and
yeah,
you realize like how bad, like how the order of things
yeah,
needs to change. And actually, now that I'm here in Japan, I also was lucky enough to find like 2 opportunities to present, one online and one in person. And it was great. I love being able to meet the people, especially in
so
communities that do not use
yeah.
the
So
native Chinese.
do you reckon the data community in Barcelona or Spain is quite big,
Mhm.
popular compared
Yeah,
to other
yeah.
countries?
Yes, I'm seeing more and more of that. I mean, we have a local culture for at least in our particular user group. I cannot talk about many others, but I've seen that
Yeah,
at least I would say that MVPs in Spain try to find new MVPs. Yeah, that's our
yeah,
like mission kind of thing.
yeah,
Like, hey, look at us, we have even more MVPs. It's like a
yeah,
sort of a competition, I would say, even between the cities. I mean, we don't have like a pan Spanish community. I think I don't know, everybody wants to build their own thing, and I think that's fine. That's not a big deal.
yeah, yeah. That's
There
good.
is one event that kind of like combines all the organizers. Like did a Saturday. It's organized like in Madrid, and
Yeah,
we have like organizers from all the user groups, which is also nice. But daily events are more run independently. Of course, we try not to step on each other. If somebody's like doing the big event on a certain weekend, then like, okay, let's show it to the next one or something. But yeah, and then of course, when I was in the pandemic, I was like, hey, what about Barcelona? Because I saw like user group is like, hey, what about Barcelona user group? And I didn't find it at first. And so, but eventually in the Fabric community, well, it was still the Power BI community back then. And I found it like, yeah, Barcelona, but there was like only some old post or whatever. But at least I found the organizer, and contacted her and it's like, hey, yeah, we have this. We're not using the community. It's too complicated. We have a WhatsApp group, and I was invited there. And then I said, hey, let's make this bigger, right? I mean, so I was always trying to find, even though I was not an organizer, like, hey, but maybe we could do it there or we could do it here. And like, hey, I found this guy. He's also interested. Like, put it in the group. I was like always like this. So eventually said, hey, maybe we should get this guy in the organizing committee. So they invited me to the organizing committee and we keep running from there.
So that's a good thing, because more people, more organizers, from data community, more willing that they can share space. Like if they have a different location, you want to use it. And
you need to make your network as big as possible, because you will need that network for everything, because it's not easy to find speakers. It's not easy to find venues, not easy to find sponsors. So all these are complex. So the more people that you have going in your direction, the better. Yeah. So, and also we have a very lively WhatsApp group. So of course, I mean, there's a lot of people, right? We are like 500 or something, 550. So, and when people have some questions, they post it there, and then you get like much better answers than you would get in a AI thing. So that's something that I think is very, very important, because if you don't build it, then people, of course, have no choice, right? And now forums and so on might not be so alive, so people just rely on what they can figure out with AI. But that's probably not what it's out there. Yeah, sometimes you need somebody to show you really, hey, this is how you do it. And when you see it in front of your eyes, like somebody doing the presentation for you, that is when I say, hey, maybe I should use that myself, right? And because just like looking around and there's reading articles, I think there's something that it doesn't really click. Yeah. And I've seen in other countries, they do not have that. And it's like, oh, that's a pity, because it's not so easy to create. So to have this community, this like, hey, hey, you should come over. And then I do that all the time. And then some people are like, hey, I have this colleague. Hey, can I bring you? Like, yeah, of course. And we just keep adding more people. Of course, there's people that say, hey, this is a week too much for me. And then they leave the group. That's also okay. But at least they know it and it's their decision. But I imagine somebody who's working in Power BI in Barcelona, this person should know about our group, at least know about our group. So that's why I'm always on the lookout for new potential members, right? So if somebody interacts with my post and something, and I don't know, I always look at least where they're from and stuff. And like, if it looks like, they're more or less close by, it's like, hey, I mean, now that we finally have the LinkedIn Premium again, you can like write messages to pretty much everyone. And it's like, hey, we have this group. It's wonderful. Would you like to join us? They answer, great. They don't answer, that's okay. I did my part. I invited the person. Person is free to say, hey, who are you? Or like, why do you want that? Or I don't know. Or they say, sometimes they just say, hey, this is wonderful. Here's my phone. Like, boom. And then you invite them in. And then sometimes you realize that they are super good at something and they make a great speaker. Or they are in a super company and they really love what we do, and eventually they sponsor us. This is something that has worked very well. It's like, if you have some sort, I don't know if there's any local group organizers listening to this, but sometimes if you just go event by event, like, we need to sponsor for this event, like you try calling, like, no, it's too late or whatever. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of time, and there's so many no's and unproductive work.
Yeah.
What we're having now, and we try to move forward, is having more companies that they support our work in general, right? So, and then we offer them like annual sponsorship. And it's like, I mean, it's some money, but it's not a huge fortune. And then they show up there in our meetup sponsor part. And we also, in the beginning of each event, we have now, like, of course, an introduction of who we are and what we do, and next events and all this sort of thing. And then we have a slide there where we say thank you for our annual sponsors. And I think now we have like, I don't know, like 8 or something. It's crazy. I mean, the first year we had like 2, and then like they were gone. Like,
that's a good idea.
I actually heard that idea in some forum of a user group, and they're like, hey, that could work. And it does work. So really, really recommend it.
Okay. So for those who want to know about it, what's your user group called again in Barcelona? And
Power
is there a meetup?
BI. Yeah,
Is
we,
there
we
a
call it.
page?
Yeah, I think it's Power BI Barcelona, something like this, because
Okay.
we built it before the Fabric thing. But if you look for Power BI and Fabric Barcelona, you will find us. Yeah, we don't have
Okay.
user group in the name, so it's like Power BI Fabric Barcelona.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So if
Cool.
anyone around Barcelona anytime soon, you can just
Oh,
go
yeah.
to the user group and join. And maybe just join as attendee, or you can join as a speaker, or just help, maybe see if there's any volunteer work and stuff you can do.
Yeah, sometimes there is.
Yeah, you could help with the pizza. Yeah, if there's some stuff.
Yeah. Right. Or if you have a nice company you want to sponsor us, we'll be proudly show your logo in our slide.
Yeah. Okay. So aside from doing any community stuff, do you have any hobbies that you normally enjoy doing, Bernat?
Hobbies. I mean, I also have like 2 daughters, and yeah. So I do this. Also, I'm active in like a local Buddhist group as well. So
Yeah.
there's not much free time to it. But again, I love this. I mean, it's not like work for me. So
Yeah.
when I have time, I'm always like thinking on the next thing, right? Oh, this thing that I did at work, I want to like give it a good shape and share it. So you need to find the sample data and then build it again. And then when you build again, like, actually, it would be much better doing it that way. So all these things are very fun for me, and it's something that I can do in a small windows of time because, yeah, for a decent hobby, like, yeah, I would like to go, I don't know, play something, and like, yeah, you need at least few hours together that you can just disappear from home and be back.
Yeah,
and the thing is that I already use a lot of my time to, go to the events that we do in Barcelona, and go to the events that I go elsewhere. And so if in top of that say, and that's not my hobby, I have another hobby that I want to do, like, I think it already counts as my hobby at this point.
Yeah. What other events are you planning at the moment? When is your next one?
So we have FabCon Barcelona coming up, right? So this is going to happen on the last week of September. So what we are going to do is like we do a sandwich. So we do like one event on right before and one right after.
Yeah.
So the one before is going to be more like of a party style. So we'll have a few sessions, but just like as an excuse to all get together. And we're going to try, we're getting like some of the international speakers that will be in the city and are kind enough to just show up and explain anything. Of course, it's not going to be like new stuff, but many people, the local community haven't met on any of these big names. So they'll be happy to any of the good presentations they have.
Nice.
And then after that, we'll just have drinks and like mingle together and so on.
Yeah.
And after FabCon, we have a pretty large event, and it's very unique. It's called Women in Fabric, right? So only female presenters allowed. Audience is next, but only female presenters. And it really was a transformational point for us because you know how it is, right? In data events, sometimes just more and more males show up and not so many females. Like, and like, how can we change this? Because this doesn't look healthy, right? So we even like Razor Rad was around and like, hey, I can come and present for you, and it was like, yeah, this is awesome, this is gonna be great, and then I don't know, very few females showed up, and like, we need to radically change this, right? So we were lucky enough, one of the new, these people that you invite to the group, she's like, yeah, I'm working in this company, we can do that here. And she moved so much so that we could have a nice event. And it's like, we should get her on the organizing group and say, hey, we need to change this. What about if we do a like all female event? Can you do that like next month? It's like, yes, I'm in. They're like, okay. And actually, we just wanted her to like lead, but she did the whole thing. I mean, like she found some extra girls to organize the thing. So we mostly don't do much about that event. We help her like a little bit with maybe the sessions and so on, but that's it. And it's been awesome. I think it's the third year in a row that they're doing that. And this year, I think it's even like 2 days. It used to be like one day, and now they have like workshops right the day after FabCon, and then on the Saturday they'll have the regular like session day, And luckily, I've been apparently like many of the big names that come for FabCon, or the female names that come for FabCon, will be participating there. So if you are in the city and or you come for FabCon and you can stay for the weekend, very, very highly recommended.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks a lot for joining this episode, Bernat. So hopefully people
Mhm.
know how to like about like data. So if you want to become like a data engineer,
Yeah.
and there's different things that you need to know. Some we discussed about Fabric. Power BI is one of the useful to learn about,
Mhm.
and we dive into some of the community aspect that Bernat need to know is aware of, like the community group user group that is running in Barcelona. So
Yep.
check it out. And if you have any question, you can follow Bernat on LinkedIn or and
Yeah.
which is the
Everything in
best
LinkedIn
platform?
is
Just
this. Yeah.
LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.